What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Ducross Brothers Sports Warriors. Thank you for joining us today. We have an incredible show for everybody, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
I mean, we got Ben Askren,
Retires.
which is kind of weird in itself. Then we got some interesting news coming out of the boxing world, and a so-called boxing promotion is now gaining traction, and we'll get to that too. But I'm Tristan Cross. Along my side, as always, my brother Sean Cross. Sean, Ben Askren announced his retirement, eh? He gone.
Yeah, he's gone, and apparently he's not coming back. But if I were you fans, I would be skeptical of that. And why I say that is because it's not the first time he said he's retired. This guy has retired once before. He retired in 2017. And now he's retiring now.
I kind of want to feel like I feel bad for the guy because Ben Askren got traded for perhaps pound for pound one of the best fighters in the world.
Absolutely.
Had his issues with UFC, had his issues with Dana White. But like I kind of mentioned it on the last show, Sean, was that he never really gained enough traction in the UFC, didn't he? Like, I threw up the whole issue that he had with Burroughs at one time, and I'm thinking, like, this guy was never the same fighter after he put his wrestling prowess out there against Burroughs, and Burroughs destroyed him. Never really materialized into this legitimate, bona fide superstar that he thought he was.
And you know what's interesting, Tristan, is, yeah, you know what? He never materialized into this bona fide superstar that everybody thought he was going to be when it came to the UFC. But when you look at his track record, he was only 35 years old, okay? And in that time frame, he did a lot. He was in Bellator, where he was the welterweight champion from 2010 to 2013. Then he went to ONE FC, where he was with welterweight champ from 2014 to 2017. And in that time frame, in that moment, he was perceived as the cream of the crop that has never fought in the UFC. And then, yes, the Demetrius Johnson trade happens and things don't go according to plan. But my concern, if you will, is the fact that when you look back at Ben Askren and where he became from over here in the UFC, is that he sounds as if he says that, you know what, it's been 3 to 5 years that he's had this hip issue. So at that point, 3 to 5 years, that puts him in the time frame of when he was back at ONE.
Yeah.
If he knew that he had this hip injury, why did he do nothing about it?
That's my issue, though, is that it's all about the money, right? It's all about the payday. So when I think about the injury and the long-term effects that it might have had on his career, the hip being an injury that for a wrestler is very bad. At any point in time when you have something like that, you have that issue, that's a problem. Because that's everything you need. You need that kind of lower extremity to fight through it, to push through it. And if that hip injury is bad, then at no way, shape, or form should he have ever been competing at such a high level if that hip injury was that bad.
Absolutely. And when you look at that, like, how does he not know his hip was going to materialize to this bad, to this extravagant, when he has to have a left hip replacement?
Dude, we just saw a kid in football from Alabama, Sean, suffer the same injury that Bo Jackson had.
Yeah, so you know that there are issues that you have to adapt or have to change.
Right. So, if we're talking about the injury and the long-term effects that it would have, I can get it. I can understand it. If we're talking about Ben Askren's career, possibly a Hall of Fame candidate because of everything that he has had on his plate. But it does leave you kind of a sour taste, does it not, in your mouth with him going to the UFC. And the way that he kind of got bounced to the side.
Yeah, and when you're talking about getting bounced to the side, you could not have had a worse run. The fact that you are now known for taking the Jorge Masvidal flying knee. You lost to Damian Maia with a rear naked choke.
You honestly could have lost to Robbie Lawler when you were dumped on your head.
But he still lost. He got the bulldog choke.
He got the bulldog choke on Robbie Lawler.
So you look back and he's lost his last 2 fights in such dramatic fashion that is he trying to make an excuse for the issue of why he's lost the last 2 fights? Because that's kind of what it sounds like. That he's looking for an out to save somewhat of his legacy because he didn't materialize the way that many people thought he was going to do at the next level. So, is it good, bad, or indifferent? Who knows? Is his legacy tarnished? It's really hard to say right now. All you can simply say is, yeah, you know what? It didn't go according to plan. I just don't think that now is the time to throw out this whole thing of, oh, I need a full hip replacement. Oh, this hip injury's been going for 3 to 5 years. To me, that just sounds like he's using that as a scapegoat for him to fade away, and people are not going to really question about where he's going or why he's leaving the sport.
Right.
I mean, you could not have fallen on worse times or harder luck, considering that he went viral for the flying knee on Jorge Masvidal. He went viral for the wrestling competition expedition that he had.
He got thrown around like a rag doll by Burroughs.
So, I mean...
And all this, Sean, has happened when he went over to the UFC.
Yeah.
And everything up until that point has been now called into question, has it not? Like, you can run off his accolades. You can run off everything that he has done. But the only thing that I can honestly remember now is those little nuggets of his short time in the UFC. The fact that he didn't want to fight his boy Tyrone Woodley. The fact that he got destroyed in 2 fights. Could have been 3. That's what I take away from it.
Yeah. And that's
like as bad as Michael Jordan leaving the Bulls, retiring, going play baseball,
and coming back,
and then going with the Wizards. To me, you're just messing around with your legacy.
And you're tarnishing
your own career.
Yeah.
Because everything that is all lined up says that you're a potential Hall of Famer, but yet people are going to talk about what you did in the UFC. My question to everybody that's tuning into us right now on YouTube, click the bell icon, subscribe to our YouTube station, and drop a comment right in the comment section and let us know if Ben Askren is a Hall of Famer. I'm curious to what the fans think. His accolades, not what he's done in the UFC. If you could just whitewash or erase your brain for a second and just talk about his legacy and what he has done for mixed martial arts. Is Ben Askren a Hall of Famer? I'm curious. I want to know what people's thoughts are on that. We're going to go to a break, come back out. We got still.
You want to go to a break, or do you want to just touch on the weirdness of the UFC Fight Night 164 then go into break?
No, I want to go into break because I want to try to fix something real quick.
Okay.
So we're going to go to break and come back out, and then we're going to talk about what transpired over the weekend. Is it time for the old guys to hang it up? Hear what your brothers say about UFC Fight Night 164.
We are the DeCross Brothers. We are a new breed of combat sports talk. We are here every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on YouTube. And we bring you live opinions. You either like us or you don't. But join us every Wednesday to talk about combat sports, the latest topics. All right, if you're a combat fan and you're looking for the next best community to talk about combat than Fightbook MMA. Join the community and talk with your like-minded sports fans. Look no further.
All right, everybody, we are back. We are the New Cross Brothers, the Sports Warriors. I'm Tristan New Cross. Along my side, as always, is my brother, Sean New Cross. Sean, incredible show that we have on tap for everybody, right? I really am starting to try to figure out why we still should have old guys fighting. After watching UFC Fight Night 164, I'm contemplating about why.
It was definitely the one for the ages, if you will, because of the fact that you look at it and you're like, wow, we really are going with the ageless, if you will. Because a lot of the fighters were over the age of 30, in their mid-30s, late 30s. The main event featured a guy who's about to be 40 in the mid-30s. But many people were split about the Jacare Souza fight. They had Jacare winning, but results said that he won via split. He lost via split decision.
I was torn about that whole entire situation because I feel for Jacare Souza because every single time this guy goes to the decision, he loses.
Yeah, that's
90% of the time this boy loses.
That's true.
You see it going to the judges, you're like, well, let's just pencil it in for a loss.
Right.
Because when I was grading out that fight, I thought for sure it was 48-47 for Jacare Souza. And only one judge saw it, 48-47 for Jacare Souza, 48-47 for Blachowicz. But I was watching that fight. I was left trying to figure out how we even got to this point. Because Jacare going up in weight to 205 from 185.
Yeah.
Thinking that this might be the last best effort to claim a world championship. But he does realize that he was heading into the direction of John Jones, right?
Yeah.
So, Souza to me had an uphill battle, an uphill fight in the 205 division because he does understand that there's still Johnny Walker in there. Granted, he lost. There's still Corey Anderson, Dominic Reyes, who's all in front of him. So he still has a long road ahead of him.
A long road to recovery.
And I'm trying to figure out why he would think this would be his best avenue for a title when probably the baddest man on the planet is holding that light heavyweight title. The fact that I thought for sure this was going to be a pretty good fight matchup on paper, you look at it, with Jan being able to destroy his last opponent in a highlight reel fashion, to Jacare Souza thinking that this was the guy that was going to get this fight to the ground and be able to do what he needed to do against Jan. I don't know. Both guys stood up for most of the fight, at least tried. And from what I saw a very timid, a very gun-shy Jan Blachowicz. He did not feel like that. Watching that fight, it looked like he did not really want to pull the trigger. Like as if he felt sorry that Jacare Souza was in this fight. Jacare Souza, who, in my eyes, in all accounts, should have been able to get this fight to the ground, control the ground game, and maybe even get a submission victory on the ground over Blachowicz. But he insisted on standing up for most of the fight.
Which was a little bit different. But you look at that fight card and you look past that, that was probably the only one that kind of really stood out outside of the fact that Marcus Perez showed up as the Joker at his weigh-ins. And it was like, okay, if you come out looking like that, you better put on a good show for the fans. Because, I mean, seriously, if you're going to come out with that much makeup work, that much time and effort behind about how you were setting up that moment, like, it's unexcusable for you to come out and lose a unanimous decision. Like, Like, you should have came out and put the guy on his back.
Absolutely.
You should have came out and knocked the guy's teeth in. You should have came out and said, "Why so serious?" Like you can't come out in the Heath Ledger Joker makeup and look all weird and start acting and do Heath Ledger's facial expressions and have nothing to show for it. Like, that is mind-boggling.
I do not understand why at any point in time that he thought this was going to be. Your son is talking, Sean.
Don't worry about it.
I had to. But for the Joker, I'm trying to get the image real quick for you, Sean, so people can understand what we were talking about. Because I thought the makeup was done actually very well.
It was, and the fact that he came out hiding it with his hoodie and then with his hair.
Look at that. That's pretty good makeup. I gotta give him props for the fact that he stood up. Marcus Perez stood up and did what he had to do to don the Joker makeup. Yeah. He had the hair on point. He had the black makeup around his eyes. That was the win of the night. I mean, we talking about the old guys, but in reality, that was the winner, hands down.
That was the winner, but at the same time, he was the loser because you still lost. Like, how do you look like that and you still lose?
Look at that. I love the makeup. I would love to do the makeup myself.
Like, it makes no sense to me. Like, he's even got the hands behind his back. He's got his head tilted. Like, my goodness, he went all out for it, and it bottomed out.
Right.
But what still hasn't seemingly bottomed out, I guess we're going to end the show with the Deontay Wilder versus Luis Ortiz 2. So, we'll stay on the bottoming out aspect. I guess it bottomed out that when Zuffa Boxing was roughly announced, as if this fight promotion was going to happen and take off. It was supposed to have taken off back in October.
Yes.
It was supposed to take it off when you had Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather. It never materialized. But here we are, November 20th, Wednesday. Zuffa Boxing is not dead. There is rumblings
in the inner circle, no pun intended,
that in 2020,
yes,
we will see Zuffa Boxing. It will be on the UFC Fight Pass as well as a major network deal. My thinking behind this is the fact that
they're heading to the zone.
Yes, because of the fact that he says, Dana White, he's got a great relationship with Al Heyman. He has a great developing relationship with Eddie Hearn. So you talk about where could it go? Well, if he's got good relationships with Eddie Hearn, you go to the zone. And if you go to the zone, the inevitable is right there. And by the inevitable, I mean is you've heard it. Jorge Masvidal
wants Canelo. Where's Canelo? Where's Canelo?
The zone. Bad blood between Dana White and Oscar De La Hoya.
Even though there's a video of Oscar De La Hoya when it was mentioned to him about Zuffa Boxing coming in 2020. There's a video. Go ahead, search it. Oscar De La Hoya says that Dana White is welcome to his world. He has nothing against Dana White. He loves Dana White. And I'm thinking, he does realize that Dana White is the one that keeps taking shots at Oscar, right? So I was a little confused about that. Then he says Dana White is welcome to joining Golden Boy. What? Did he get hit upside the head? Because I'm trying to figure out if I have a concussion, if I'm delusional or something. Because
There is no way these two coexist. No way. No, and what's interesting is that if they do find a way to coexist, okay, and they do find a way to make this happen where he ends up at the zone, Zuffa Boxing, yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. But when you get to Zuffa Boxing and where this is going and why this has even been talked about is because of the success of, dare I say it, KS1 and Logan Paul. How we got here was because of Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather.
Think about it, dude. We had real boxers on that card.
How we got here, Tristan, was because of social media.
Yep.
Okay. Here's something for you fight fans. We've said this before, and we'll continue to say it again now.
Yep.
Combat sports is changing into entertainment. You people, by that I mean the fans, or the casual fans, are the ones that turned out for the Logan Paul versus KSI fight number 2. Made it one of the highest grossing pay-per-views or streaming platform
In the world.
and yet the hardcore fans want to cry foul. You know, this is very similar to the state that wrestling's in.
There's more casuals than there are hardcore.
Core fans.
Yeah.
Does it suck? Absolutely. Is it hard to swallow? Sure it is.
You have your purists,
And
then you don't.
And then you have your casuals.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when you want to bring in other fans, you cater to the casuals, and that's what you have to do to be successful.
Because
It's
most people
change-
will be seriously doing this all the way to the end.
when Eddie Hearn brought over KSI and Logan Paul onto his network, if you will, so to speak, and put on a fighting display that rivaled, not bad for two guys that really don't have any backing, but had legitimate time in camp, if you will, to try to make sure that they weren't going to put on a, as you would say, a shit show. At some point, fight fans have to get through to through to themselves, through to their heads, whatever it may be, and realize
Throw it to somebody.
that you may not like it, but there are fans that are going to enjoy it. And at the bottom of the line, it goes back to what Dana White has said. Okay? Where I'm going with this is the fact that we've said it again. And it's getting eerily close to reality. And that is, well, Dana White, how do you get around not wanting to have sanctioning bodies if you're Zuffa Boxing? His reply was very simple. In the UFC, I'm not sanctioned by anybody. My title is my title. My title is the UFC title. That is not sanctioned by anybody except for the UFC. It became relevant because of the best want to fight the best. See, when WCW created the World Heavyweight title after the NWA title, that gold title became the epitome of the sports entertainment world, what everybody wanted. It meant something. The WWE World title meant something. Wasn't sanctioned by anybody, but it was the best athletes fighting the best athletes. So what Zuffa Boxing is aiming to do in this moment is take the best and put it against the best. So when you've got Stipe Miocic that wants to square off against Tyson Fury,
Greg Hardy, who wants to square off against Tyson Fury. Francis Ngannou, who wants to square off against Tyson Fury. When you got UFC fighters calling out boxers, there's a reason for it.
And
And
when
make
you-
no mistake about it, Sean, Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather did it first.
Whether you liked it or not, it drew money, blew a lot of the stuff out of the water. Unfortunately, folks, we are the money-driven game and the entertainment business.
Love it or hate it, the bottom line here is that as long as MMA fighters want to make that boxing money,
this is the avenue that at some point is going to have to be taken.
So if it's there, and Zuffa Boxing and Dana White want to create that avenue, like Eddie Hearn wants to create a celebrity boxing, it is what it is, people. Embrace the culture, embrace
give it
the
a
change.
nice old bear hug it out, embrace it, love it.
Because
Own
if
it.
you can make the BMF title a reality
Yeah.
and mean something, then you can find your way and create a boxing title and make it relevant that everybody wants to try to gain.
Man, and we ain't talking about the franchise title in boxing yet.
Like,
Because you want to talk about a title that you need to figure out how it means something? I haven't heard anybody in the boxing world talk about this, that Lomachenko has been dubbed the franchise champion.
and we'll get to that here after the break.
Absolutely. I want to talk a little bit more about the Ortiz Wilder fight that's coming up.
Absolutely, we'll get to that.
Devin Haney has been told he has to face a mandatory contender. And the franchise title in boxing? More with the New Cross Brothers coming up right after this break. The New Cross Brothers, a combat sports podcast show on YouTube. If you want new, fresh opinions on the combat sports world, check out the New Cross Brothers, the Sports Warriors, every Wednesday at 11 a.m. right here on YouTube. Fight Book MMA, your number one MMA community on Facebook to talk all combat sports. We are the New Cross Brothers. I'm Tristan New Cross. This is my brother Sean New Cross. Thank you everybody that's tuning into us right now on YouTube. Give us a subscribe. Hit the bell icon. Hit the like button. Gives us a thumbs up. Amazing combat sports talk show coming up. I mean, the rest of this show, boxing. Again, I ain't hearing anything about it. No different takes, no different subjects, but here, Sean and Tristan and I, we about that. We got the biggest fight, probably the scariest fight, in Wilder Ortiz 2, coming up, and it's a rematch. And all I can think about, Sean, is that it's a little bit, kinda,
I guess we can enter the Twilight Zone a little bit.
because Sean, we're talking about rematch 2.
And
do
the-
you
and the
not
fact
understand
that
how bad this could be for him?
Well, not just that. It's like we're talking about Wilder Ortiz 2 after the fact that the first one ended with scrutiny. Okay, yes, Wilder landed what was perceived as the most perfect uppercut anybody has ever thrown that knocked out Luis Ortiz. But also, we can't forget in that fight
That
Wilder-
Ortiz took him to the limit.
woodshed. Like, Wilder was rocked in the 7th round.
The fact that you could become a counter puncher, and my knock on Wilder has always been that he's not the best technical boxer in the world.
Yeah.
He has freakish power. We saw that. Not going to take it away from him. The freakish power showed its ugly head when he knocked out Ortiz. But the fact is that he was subject to being counterpunched over and over and over again. And for everybody's scared to face Ortiz for that simple reason, Sean. Now you're giving the old man another shot.
Yeah. You're talking about a guy who's 40 years old.
Is he?
I mean, we all know.
Look. I'm sorry, but that guy looks like he's older than 40.
Well, we all
I
know,
want a birth certificate.
we all know the history of Cuban athletes.
Yep.
Just
I want
saying.
his birth certificate. I just want it.
But neither here nor there. The bottom line is that you talk about the age difference, 34 versus 40, okay? 6'7" versus 6'4".
Big guys.
But the interesting thing is, in the first fight, Luis Ortiz gassed out by the 10th round. He had nothing left. He became stationary target, and then Deontay Wilder just started using his power and just unloading on him. So, my takeaway from that fight is, at what point, how do you approach this if you're Luis Ortiz? Do you, in the first 5 rounds, go for broke, lay it all out, throw hands, try to end it at that moment? That's the question that remains to be seen, if he's going to go from point A to point B in 90 seconds flat. So he doesn't risk gassing out. But the drawback to that is the fact that this guy has only 26 knockouts on his record. You're looking against a guy who may not have technique, but by far the more powerful puncher of the two. If you look on at the photos of these two, you think the Luis has more of the power. But Luis actually has more skill as a boxer than Wilder. But the tank and the raw power belongs to Wilder.
My question coming into this fight is 2. 1, can Ortiz, and 2, make the notable adjustments in this fight to, instead of going backwards, going forwards, and still be that counter puncher? Can he do that?
I don't know. I don't see that for this fight. I don't see Ortiz being a counter puncher for this one, because of the fact that his tank was questioned. And there's so much animosity between these two, because Luis Ortiz felt like that he was done dirty in the first one because of the fact that he got hit multiple times in the back of the head at one point.
Okay, but if I'm Wilder, right? You get Ortiz number 2, right?
Yeah.
What's his mindset? He cannot come into this fight overconfident. He cannot come into this fight reckless, because I wholeheartedly believe that for this fight to go the way that it did in the first one, Sean, to get into deep waters, I hope I'm wrong, Wilder's going to come out there to try to take Ortiz's head off early and often.
See, my notes about
And I really hope that's not the case.
See, and my notes about this fight is Ortiz, be quick, be first. And when you're talking about in this moment, I feel like we're gonna have another Andy Ruiz.
Okay. You say another Andy Ruiz situation of what happened to Anthony Joshua.
Yes. And I think this fight ends in the 6th round.
See, I can kind of see that, because when I'm looking at this matchup, first off, it's rematch number 2. The fact that this could be such a bad matchup, bro. Such a bad matchup.
Yeah.
For all the reasons that we are saying. Can you imagine the setback that Wilder would have losing to Ortiz? All the fights that everybody has been chomping at the bit for. The rematch against Tyson Fury February 22nd. The possible matchup against either Anthony Joshua or Ruiz Jr. All that stuff thrown out the window.
Yeah.
And yet, we could be talking about Ortiz getting his pay like Andy Ruiz Jr.
The
Could the
tables.
foundation of boxing just get shifted at this fight?
You know, everybody's gonna cry foul and say, "No, it can't happen." But it could very well happen this Saturday.
Yes, it could.
But what's looking to happen is that the WBC
Has ordered a mandatory fight.
for Devin Haney, who
But
just, by
there's
the
an
way, I just
interest-
found out signed with DAZN, and he's no longer on Showtime.
Nope. Yep. And what's interesting is that Devin Haney got paid by the zone and Matchroom Boxing. So I do have to say, I really do. For Haney to sign with the zone, I applaud that, right?
Yeah.
for him to get a mandatory defense now of his title is one of two folds. And I say that because Devin Haney has been granted the full lightweight WBC champion title.
Because Lomachenko has been awarded the franchise tag. Yeah, and you say tag because it's easier, but it's title.
Title, championship. And I'm going to break down that franchise championship.
You can do that in a minute. Let's talk about
Devin Haney.
Let's talk about where we're at, where we potentially are going to go, and where we may end up.
Devin Haney has to now have two mandatory titles to vest himself.
There's a story.
Yes.
A beginning, middle, and an end. We got here because Devin Haney won his last fight. Javier Fortuna is the WBC mandatory opponent for Devin's title. They have until December 13th to negotiate to get this fight done. If it does not happen, then apparently they will go to New Mexico City
to have a bidding war for the purse.
Now, what's interesting about this is that Javier Fortuna was once the champion, is a beast and a machine when he is consistent. He's won his last two fights, previously inconsistent. When he gets consistent and he brings his A game, he is ruthless. It's an interesting fight for Haney.
Probably the toughest fight. The self-proclaimed future of boxing. The self-proclaimed next Floyd Mayweather. The fact that he just turned 21 and he has his own promotion.
Yep.
This kid knows how to market himself at the best, but now he has a possible fight on his hands that is really,
and
really tough.
His end game is the fact that he wants Lomachenko. And he's only 21, and he wants Lomachenko. But before he does that, here's the middle. Here's the middle. Devin Haney has to make two title defenses. He has to get through Javier Fortuna if the bidding war happens and they are able to get to it. Then whoever else the WBC throws in front of him. If he gets through those two, and Lomachenko still has his franchise title,
he'll never lose that franchise title.
Right.
That's the thing.
Like you said, it's like watching the TV show like All American that I watched last night. It's like watching that because they had a 7-on-7 game, and there was no win. You were the former.
Okay, it's just like the WWE the other night had a run-in, and the main event ended in a disqualification. How can you have a disqualification at a run-in?
Sometimes
if you have an invasion angle that was supposed to happen, there's no way that the NXT guys are on the side of Raw or SmackDown.
Sometimes the writing are flawed.
Right.
Sometimes the writing are flawed.
But the franchise championship awarded to Lomachenko. I'm talking about this because he now has the opportunity to challenge anybody and anyone in any division for any title. Green, gold, black, blue, red, white, it don't matter. He can go to any weight class he wants, no questions asked. You can't ask him about why he wants to fight in this weight class. You can't ask him about his title defenses. You can't ask him anything. He has every right to
plead the fifth,
do whatever he wants.
Because he's Lomachenko, the franchise champion.
He's now what I classified as the Brock Lesnar
of the WBC lightweight division.
Right. And I say that because once he is retired, he'll be designated as the WBC Emeritus Champion, which will be him in long standing as Floyd Mayweather,
Canelo, and Klitschko as the only three other boxers to ever
have a title like that.
Wow.
Loma can compete in any weight class, up and down. Any fight that he does
will be considered a mandatory contendership title. And I say that because say he fights Devin Haney, right? Just say that he fight him. If he would ever win and beat Haney, right? This is where it's freaking amazing. He can literally beat Haney, be dubbed the new WBC lightweight champion, and never hold the title. Because that title automatically becomes vacant at that moment. So basically, he can run the gamut and basically beat everybody.
And all those titles go away.
Hold all those titles and basically rip your soul from you. And make that title automatically vacant. Where then he could go and fight anybody else. And make them a mandatory number one contender. Because nobody will ever be able to fight for his franchise championship. So say that if you were the...
Me? Okay.
I'm just saying, giving people an example. You say, hey, I want to sign on the dotted line to fight Lomachenko, right? If you ever beat Loma, which is a question that many people say, can he be beaten? Is an automatically number one contender for any title, up or down.
That's confusing in itself.
That is crazy to think about how once we could have a long jam at say a lightweight championship, right, John? To think about that, we could have had a long jam. Now, just say I want to fight Loma, and you can literally separate yourself. Literally just throw a wrinkle into everything WBC.
And you know who threw a wrinkle into stuff this weekend? That I'm surprised didn't get a lot of little bit of pub on social media was the fact that Frank that he has is because he's so quick. He's so agile on his feet.
I just love the fact that Frank Gore, we've seen multiple NFL athletes, or athletes in general, Sean, jump to the side of combat sports to either train mixed martial arts for hand-eye coordination on the defensive side.
Yep.
We've seen people want to have quicker hands, and every single person that I've seen videos from Lorenzo Neal to now Frank Gore, I really do applaud their effort.
That's what I have to say about Frank Gore.
Yeah, so
it doesn't matter about age. It doesn't matter about the fact that he puts his head through a lot of trauma. The fact that he can still have hand-eye coordination like that.
Sean, at this point,
the fact that he can still hit the glove when the guy's going behind his back. Whoo!
This is a guy that is in the NFL at 40 years old that could still have a 1,000-yard rushing season. This guy has been incredible from the day he started to the day now.
Right.
And to see this video,
from the jump,
incredible.
The guy's legit. Is one of those things that stood out to me this weekend. I was like, oh, okay, I see you.
Right? Had to show the fans that little clip because it was amazing in itself. But Sean, that's it, right?
That is it.
We are the New Cross Brothers. We do this every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Hopefully you like what we're doing for you guys. Change it up a little bit. Give you a little bit of a different feel and a vibe now for our talk show. So give us a subscribe for our YouTube channel.
Give us a thumbs up.
Right? Show us that you like it. You guys mean the world to us. That's why we keep doing what we do, and we show you a different side of combat sports talk. Hope you guys enjoy it. Hit the bell icon so you get notifications when we go live, when we post new stuff. We're going to start trying to do a little bit more with our YouTube channel. So
stay up to date with that. It's going to be a pretty fun ride here for the Ducross Brothers. We got some big news coming out here soon, so just stay tuned with the Ducross Brothers Sports Wars. I'm Tristan Ducross. Along my side, as always, my brother Sean Ducross. In the meantime, we're going out of here.
Sprawl and brawl, ground and pound. Get ready for an MMA showdown. Now, the ultimate Octagon Insider, Sean and Tristan Ducross.